First contact and dismissal. High Admiral Kilara Vess stood at the crystalline observation deck of the Ziraxian Empire's flagship, the Eternal Twilight, her bioluminescent markings pulsing with mild irritation as she reviewed the latest reports from the Sol system. The Ziraxians, with their ability to manipulate gravity itself and harness the power of dying stars, had long considered themselves the undisputed masters of the known galaxy. Their ships, elegant constructs of living crystal and quantum-entangled consciousness, were the pride of their civilization. Another report from the observation post near the primitive world, High Admiral, announced First Observer Talon, his own markings flickering with what could only be described as amusement. The humans have established their first colony on their red neighbor planet. They're celebrating it as a major achievement. Kilara's secondary breathing gills fluttered in what passed for Ziraxian laughter. How quaint. They burrow into the toxic soil of Mars like insects, while we reshape entire solar systems at will. She turned her multifaceted eyes toward the holographic display showing Earth's solar system. How long have we been observing them now? 52 of their years, High Admiral. They've progressed from primitive chemical rockets to basic ion drives in that time. The Science Directory considers their rate of advancement unusual. The High Admiral's markings pulsed with deeper colors, indicating her growing interest. Unusual enough to warrant closer observation. They've begun experimenting with what they call quantum mechanics. Their theories are primitive, but their approach is unique. They seem to view the universe through a different lens than our ancestors did. Kilara moved closer to the holographic display, her crystalline exoskeleton catching the light of distant stars. The Sol system was unremarkable, a typical yellow star with a handful of planets, most of them useless rocks. Yet something about these humans had caught the attention of the Science Directory, and that alone made them worth her personal attention. Their latest achievement? She inquired, her markings now showing patterns of scientific curiosity. They've successfully transmitted quantum information between their planet and their orbital stations. They're calling it a breakthrough in telecommunications. The High Admiral's markings flickered with dismissive patterns. Let me know when they achieve something truly impressive, like harnessing a black hole or creating a stable wormhole. Until then, they're merely children playing with toys they barely understand. But as the weeks turned into months, the reports from Earth became more frequent and more intriguing. The humans had begun testing devices that manipulated quantum states on a macroscopic scale. They were making theoretical leaps that, while crude by Ziraxian standards, showed a disturbing level of intuition about the fundamental nature of spacetime. High Admiral, Talon's voice carried an unusual tone of concern during one routine briefing. The humans have announced their first successful faster-than-light communication experiment. They're requesting contact with the galactic community. Kilara's markings flashed with patterns of surprise and skepticism. Impossible. Their technology is centuries behind such capabilities. Our sensors would have detected any conventional FTL signatures. That's just it, High Admiral. We detected no signatures because they're not using conventional methods. They've developed something different. The High Admiral's expression hardened. In 15,000 years of space exploration, the Ziraxian Empire had encountered countless species, but none had ever developed FTL capabilities without following the standard technological progression. It was simply impossible, or should have been. Send a diplomatic vessel, she commanded after a moment of consideration. Make it clear that while we welcome them to the galactic community, they are expected to share their technological developments with us, as is traditional for newly spacefaring races. As the diplomatic vessel departed, Kilara couldn't shake the feeling that these humans might be more than they appeared. Still, they were surely nothing the Empire couldn't handle. After all, what could a species that had barely left its home planet possibly teach the masters of 1,000,000 worlds? The Empire's vast intelligence network began gathering more detailed information about Earth's military capabilities. The human ships appeared laughably primitive. Bulky vessels with visible engines and armor plating, nothing like the elegant living crystal ships of the Zeraxian fleet. They seemed to rely on brute force rather than the refined gravitational manipulation technology that was the hallmark of advanced civilization. But somewhere deep in the quantum labs of Earth and its colonies, hidden from prying eyes, humanity was preparing to demonstrate just how dangerous underestimating them could be. The crude ships and primitive technology were a carefully crafted facade, concealing capabilities that would soon reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. The stage was set for a confrontation that would shatter the Empire's assumptions about their new neighbors and change the course of galactic history forever. The silent preparation. Deep beneath the ice sheets of Antarctica, in a facility known only to a select few, Dr. Sarah Chen stood before a holographic display of what appeared to be an impossible phenomenon. The quantum displacement chamber before her held a secret that would change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. "Run the test again," she commanded, her voice steady despite the excitement coursing through her veins. The team of scientists around her moved with practiced precision, their movements reflecting years of working in absolute secrecy. The chamber hummed to life, its crystalline walls glowing with an inner light that seemed to bend reality itself. Inside, a test probe flickered and vanished, reappearing instantaneously in a sister chamber halfway across the planet. There was no beam of light, no distortion of space, just instant translation from one point to another. "Quantum displacement successful," announced Dr. James Rodriguez, his fingers dancing across the holographic controls. "No detectable energy signature. The Zeraxians' monitoring stations won't see a thing." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. While the alien empire's observers watched humanity's seemingly primitive space program with bemused condescension, the truth of their technological advancement remained hidden in facilities like this one across Earth and its colonies. In orbit, Earth's primitive fleet of bulky warships continued their patrol patterns, their apparent clumsiness a carefully choreographed performance. Behind their thick armor plating and obvious engine pods lay the true marvel of human engineering. Quantum displacement cores capable of instantly moving entire vessels across vast distances without leaving any trace in conventional space. Admiral David Chen, Sarah's brother and the architect of Earth's military strategy, stood on the bridge of the ECS Prometheus, watching a Zeraxian diplomatic vessel pass by with its characteristic grace. The alien ship's crystalline structure sparkled in the sunlight, its crew undoubtedly feeling superior to the crude human vessel they were observing. "Status of Operation Shadowbox," he asked his executive officer quietly. "All fleet elements are in position, sir. The quantum displacement cores have been successfully installed in all major combat vessels. The Zeraxians continue to monitor only our conventional drive signatures." David nodded, his expression grim. The massive ships of Earth's Space Force were more than they appeared, each one a technological Trojan horse hiding humanity's greatest scientific achievement. The bulky armor plating that the Zeraxians dismissed as primitive actually contained arrays of quantum sensors and displacement field generators, while the obvious engine pods housed backup systems that would never be used in actual combat. In laboratories across the solar system, human scientists had taken a different approach to faster-than-light travel. While the Zeraxians bent space with their gravity manipulation technology, humanity had learned to step through it entirely, exploiting quantum entanglement on a massive scale. The key breakthrough had come from an unexpected source: research into human consciousness and its relationship to quantum phenomena. While the Zeraxians used artificial intelligence to control their ships, humanity had discovered that the human mind itself could interface with quantum systems in ways that machines couldn't replicate. "The latest intelligence from the Zeraxian Empire?" David asked, turning to his intelligence officer. "They're growing increasingly frustrated with our apparent reluctance to share technology, sir. Their diplomatic overtures are becoming more insistent." David smiled grimly. The Zeraxians' attempts to bully Earth into technological submission were playing directly into humanity's hands. Every scan they made of Earth's ships, Every diplomatic demand for technological exchange only reinforced their belief in humanity's technological inferiority. In secure facilities across the solar system, the final preparations were being made. Quantum displacement cores were being fine-tuned. Crews were running combat drills in simulator pods that perfectly replicated their ship's true capabilities, and strategic plans were being finalized. The Ziraxian Empire had spent millennia becoming the undisputed masters of conventional space warfare. Their living crystal ships could outmaneuver anything using normal space engines. Their gravity weapons could tear apart any vessel relying on traditional defenses, and their faster-than-light capabilities were considered the pinnacle of space travel technology. But they had never encountered an enemy that could simply choose not to exist in normal space at all. As Sarah Chen made the final adjustments to the quantum displacement calculations, she thought about the message humanity was about to send to the galaxy. The Ziraxians, in their arrogance, had forgotten one of the most important lessons of history. Technological advancement doesn't always follow a predictable path, and sometimes the greatest innovations come from those you least expect. The pieces were in place. Humanity's fleet was ready. All that remained was for the Ziraxian Empire to make the first move, and they would, their pride and certainty in their own superiority making it inevitable. When that moment came, the galaxy would learn that humanity's apparent technological backwardness had been the greatest deception in the history of space warfare. The Empire's ultimatum. High Admiral Kylara Vessa's bioluminescent markings pulsed with barely contained rage as she reviewed the latest diplomatic reports. The humans had once again refused to share their technological developments, citing their right to independent development. More concerning still, their ships had been detected near several strategic Empire outposts, their crewed vessels lumbering through space like wounded prey. "Deploy the 7th Crystal Fleet to the Sol system," she commanded, her markings flashing patterns of aggressive intent. It's time these primitives learned their place in the galactic order. The Ziraxian fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel in a dazzling display of crystalline geometry, 500 ships strong, their living crystal hulls refracting starlight in ways that made them appear both beautiful and terrifying. They took up position just beyond Mars' orbit, their presence an unmistakable show of force. On the bridge of the ECS Prometheus, Admiral David Chen watched the Ziraxian fleet's arrival with calculated calm. Status of all quantum displacement cores. All cores nominal, sir. The fleet is ready to execute Operation Quantum Strike on your command. The massive holographic display showed the Ziraxian vessels arranging themselves in their characteristic geometric formation, a three-dimensional lattice pattern that maximized the effectiveness of their gravity weapons and defensive fields. Under normal circumstances, it would have been an unstoppable formation. "Admiral," his communications officer announced, "we're receiving a transmission from the Ziraxian flagship. They're demanding immediate audience." The holographic display shifted, and High Admiral Vessa's imposing figure appeared. Her crystalline exoskeleton caught the light dramatically, and her bioluminescent patterns projected authority and disdain in equal measure. "People of Earth," her translated voice resonated through the bridge. "Your continued defiance of Imperial protocol cannot be tolerated. You have 24 of your hours to submit to Imperial oversight and share all technological developments with our science directory. Failure to comply will result in immediate military action." David's expression remained neutral. "High Admiral, surely there's room for discussion. Our technological development is our own, achieved through independent research and innovation." Kylara's markings flashed with patterns of amusement and contempt. "Innovation. Your ships are crude constructs of metal and plasma. Your weapons are primitive projectiles and energy beams. The Empire has guided 1,000 civilizations to proper technological development. You will submit, or you will be subjugated." Throughout the Sol system, humanity's response to the ultimatum appeared exactly as the Ziraxians expected. Ships moved into defensive positions with the apparent clumsiness of inferior technology. Ground-based weapons platforms powered up with visible energy signatures that any Ziraxian cadet could track. In her hidden facility beneath the Antarctic ice, Dr. Sarah Chen received the coded signal she had been waiting for. "Begin quantum core synchronization across all fleet elements," she ordered. "Prepare for mass displacement event." The Xerexian sensors detected nothing unusual as the human fleet arranged itself in what appeared to be a desperate defensive formation. High Admiral Vess observed the primitive maneuvers with growing disdain. Their ships were placing themselves in positions that would be tactically advantageous only against enemies using conventional space warfare techniques. "They don't even understand basic four-dimensional combat doctrine," she commented to her command staff, her markings showing patterns of both amusement and disappointment. "This will be over quickly." As the 24-hour deadline approached, the tension in both fleets reached its peak. The Xerexian ships began powering up their gravity weapons, their crystalline hulls resonating with energy that could tear apart any conventional vessel. In the final hour, Admiral Chen transmitted one last message to the Xerexian fleet. "High Admiral Vess, we ask you to reconsider. Humanity has no wish for conflict, but we will defend ourselves if necessary." Kilara's response was predictable. "Your bravery, while admirable, is misplaced. You cannot hope to stand against the full might of the Empire. Surrender now, and we will be merciful in our governance of your world." As the deadline expired, the Xerexian fleet began to move, their ships flowing into attack formations with fluid grace. High Admiral Vess prepared to give the order that would demonstrate the consequences of defying the Empire. She never got the chance. In the instant before she could speak, her sensor officers reported something impossible. The human fleet's energy signatures were fluctuating in ways that defied known physics. And then, in a moment that would be remembered for centuries to come, humanity revealed what they had been hiding all along. The galaxy was about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous predator is the one that appears to be prey. Operation Quantum Strike. In the fraction of a second before the Xerexian fleet could open fire, Admiral David Chen gave the order that would change galactic warfare forever. "Execute Operation Quantum Strike." What happened next defied everything the Xerexians thought they knew about physics and warfare. The entire human fleet simply ceased to exist. There was no energy signature, no distortion of spacetime, no indication of movement through any known dimension. One moment they were there, and the next they weren't. High Admiral Vess's markings flashed with alarm. "Full sensor sweep. Find those ships." But her crew didn't have time to comply. The human vessels reappeared instantaneously, not where their momentum should have carried them, but in positions that were tactically impossible, inside the Xerexian formation, between their carefully arranged geometric patterns, in their blind spots, and at their most vulnerable points. How? Kilara's markings pulsed with disbelief as she watched the supposedly primitive human ships materialize throughout her perfect formation. Their drives showed no sign of this capability. The ECS Prometheus materialized less than a kilometer from the Eternal Twilight's command section. David Chen's voice came across all frequencies. "This is your only warning, High Admiral. Stand down your fleet." But the Xerexian Empire hadn't maintained its dominance by surrendering. Kilara's markings flashed battle patterns, and her fleet responded, their gravity weapons powering up to tear apart the human vessels that had so impossibly penetrated their formation. They never got the chance to fire. The human ships vanished again, reappearing in new positions faster than the Xerexian targeting systems could track. Every time a gravity weapon began to form its destructive field, its target would simply cease to exist, only to reappear somewhere even more threatening. In the Antarctic facility, Dr. Sarah Chen monitored the quantum displacement network as it performed exactly as designed. "All cores are stable," she reported through the secure quantum channel. "The displacement field is maintaining coherence across all vessels." The battle, if it could even be called that, demonstrated the complete obsolescence of conventional space warfare tactics. The Xerexian fleet's sophisticated gravity weapons were useless against ships that could choose whether to exist in normal space. Their advanced shields couldn't protect against attacks that materialized inside them. Their perfect formations meant nothing when the enemy could appear anywhere, instantly. Target their weapon systems only, David ordered his fleet. Minimal casualties. This is a demonstration, not a slaughter. Human ships blinked in and out of existence, their quantum displacement drives allowing them to bypass all conventional defenses. Precision strikes materialized directly adjacent to critical systems, disabled them, and vanished before any response was possible. The mighty Zeraxian fleet found itself being systematically disarmed by an enemy they couldn't even fight. Impossible. Kylara's markings showed patterns of fear for the first time in her long career. No civilization develops like this. There are steps, progressions, natural technological evolution. You assumed, David's voice came through again, that there was only one path to the stars. That your way was the only way. Humanity took a different route. Within minutes, 3/4 of the Zeraxian fleet had been disabled, their gravity weapons and propulsion systems precisely destroyed by attacks they couldn't defend against. The remaining ships tried to flee, their faster-than-light drives spinning up, but even these proved useless. Human vessels would appear in their path, forcing them to drop back to normal space or risk collision. In her command center, Sarah monitored the quantum field readings with satisfaction. The displacement network is performing beyond expectations, she reported. We can maintain this level of operations indefinitely. The battle reached its inevitable conclusion when the ECS Prometheus materialized directly above the Eternal Twilight's bridge, its quantum displacement field humming with power. The message was clear. The flagship of the Zeraxian Empire existed solely because humanity allowed it to. High Admiral Vess. David's voice was calm but firm. Your fleet is disabled. Your ability to either fight or flee has been neutralized. Are you prepared to discuss new terms for our civilization's relationship? On her ruined bridge, surrounded by the disabled systems of her mighty flagship, Kylara's markings shifted to patterns of resignation and dawning understanding. In less than an hour, humanity had not just defeated the Empire's finest fleet, they had rendered obsolete the very foundations of imperial power. The quantum displacement drive had done more than revolutionize space travel. It had shattered the Empire's assumptions about technological development, military doctrine, and their place in the galaxy. As she stared at the human vessel that had so thoroughly demonstrated its superiority, Kylara realized that the galaxy would never be the same. The era of Zeraxian dominance had ended not with a prolonged war, but with a single, decisive demonstration of human ingenuity. The species they had dismissed as primitives had been hiding capabilities that redefined what was possible in space warfare. And this was only humanity's opening move. A new dawn. 3 months after the Battle of Sol, the Great Hall of the Zeraxian Imperial Palace hosted an unprecedented gathering. The crystalline architecture that had for millennia symbolized the Empire's technological superiority now served as the venue for a fundamental reshaping of galactic politics. High Admiral Kylara Vess, her markings showing complex patterns of diplomatic formality, stood before the assembled representatives of both civilizations. The Imperial Council's members watched with a mixture of trepidation and curiosity as she prepared to sign the historic accord with humanity. Admiral David Chen and Dr. Sarah Chen represented Earth, their presence in the Imperial Palace marking the first time non-Zeraxians had been invited to stand as equals in these halls. The quantum displacement drives that had brought them here had transformed their ships from curiosities to objects of intense scientific interest. The Treaty of New Understanding, Kylara began, her markings pulsing with carefully controlled emotion, marks not just peace between our civilizations, but a recognition that the galaxy holds more wonders than any one species can comprehend alone. The terms of the treaty were revolutionary. The Zeraxian Empire would abandon its policy of technological supremacy and forced guidance of lesser species. In return, humanity would share certain aspects of their quantum displacement technology, though the core secrets would remain Earth's alone. Our civilization's greatest error, Kylara continued, her markings now showing patterns of wisdom gained through humility, was believing that technological advancement could only follow one path. Humanity has shown us that innovation knows no single road. In the months since the battle, the implications of humanity's quantum displacement technology had sent shockwaves through galactic society. Other species under Imperial guidance had begun questioning the assumed superiority of Zeraxian technology. The Empire's carefully maintained hierarchy was transforming into something new and unprecedented. "We stand at the dawn of a new era," David addressed the assembly. "One where different approaches to science and technology are not just tolerated, but celebrated, where cooperation replaces domination and diversity of thought becomes our greatest strength." Sarah stepped forward, activating a holographic display that showed the preliminary results of human-Zeraxian technological cooperation. The combination of Zeraxian crystal engineering and human quantum physics had already yielded breakthroughs that neither civilization could have achieved alone. "Our differences," she explained, "are not weaknesses to be corrected, but strengths to be combined." The Zeraxians mastered the manipulation of space itself, while humanity learned to step through its very fabric. "Imagine what we can achieve together." The implications extended far beyond military applications. The first joint human-Zeraxian research facilities were already developing revolutionary applications in communication, energy production, and space exploration. The quantum displacement technology, combined with Zeraxian crystal engineering, promised to open up regions of space previously thought unreachable. As the treaty was signed, Kilara's markings displayed a pattern that many of the older council members had never seen before: hope combined with uncertainty, the willingness to embrace an unknown future. The Empire had lost its position of unquestioned dominance, but it had gained something far more valuable: a partner in exploring the true mysteries of the universe. In orbit above the Imperial capital, the Earth ships floated alongside their Zeraxian counterparts, their seemingly crude hulls now understood to house technology that had revolutionized space travel. They stood as symbols of humanity's unique approach to the cosmos, and as reminders that appearances could be deceiving. The galaxy was entering an unprecedented age of cooperation and discovery. The Zeraxian Empire's fall from absolute power had paradoxically made them stronger, as they learned to value perspectives and approaches different from their own. Humanity's primitive fleet had delivered not just a military victory, but a fundamental shift in how civilizations would interact among the stars. As the ceremony concluded, David turned to Kilara with a smile. "High Admiral, I believe you once said humanity needed to learn the proper way to exist in this galaxy." Kilara's markings flickered with what humans had come to recognize as amusement. "Perhaps," she responded, "it was we who needed to learn that there is no single proper way to exist among the stars." The quantum displacement drives had done more than revolutionize space travel. They had displaced an empire's worth of assumptions about progress, power, and possibility. As the assembled dignitaries dispersed to begin implementing the historic accord, one thing was clear: the galaxy's future would be shaped not by the dominance of any one species or technology, but by the combined creativity and innovation of all. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, other civilizations were about to learn that humanity's example had forever changed what was possible in the cosmic dance of power and progress.